Welcome to the next episode of the Iowa Girls Wrestling Podcast. Today, my guest is the new coach at Albion College. She's the new women's wrestling coach there. Someone I've known for quite a while, Jolynn Harris. Welcome, and how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. And are you already in your role now at the college?
No, I'm still in Colorado right now. Just got done working at the pool, getting ready to run a club practice and get everything set up over here, get everything sorted before I head out to Michigan.
Yeah. When do you leave for them?
I will leave on the 7th of July and I'm gonna make it a 3-day trip. Get there and then my official start date is the 14th of July.
Wow, that's going to come quick. Very
Yeah.
cool. So I thought I'd start with how I met you. I know it was I believe it was Independence, Iowa, a female elite tournament, and I don't remember who you were wrestling for sure, but you broke your nose. And I'll let you tell the story because I was kind of like, what the hell's going on? But go ahead.
I was wrestling Tatum,
Oh, that's right.
and we just we were getting into it, and she headbutted me, and we both heard it crack, so we like stepped back, just started gushing blood, and there was no trainers at this meet, and they had like cotton balls in the corner, no nose plugs, so I'm just like dripping over a garbage can, like pretty helpless because I didn't have my coach there because it was 3 hours away and I was the only girl going to the meet. And so uh you came over and you're like, I have nose plugs in my bag. I'll be right back. And you ran up there and grabbed nose plugs. We plugged me up, wiped me off, and went and
Yep.
wrestled some more of that match.
Yeah. So that's a good way to meet somebody is plugging their nose.
Yeah,
They say
very
you
thankful
can't
for
pick
that.
you can pick your friends, but you can't pick your friend's nose, but I came really close.
Yep, yep.
So we'll get to your new job. We'll start with there and we'll see what all happens. But um Albion College, where is that actually located at? Michigan, but where in Michigan?
Yeah, it's actually in Albion, Michigan. So Albion is about an hour and 15 minutes west of Detroit, pretty much
Okay.
directly between Kalamazoo and Detroit, in the southern part of Michigan. Um, Real small town, super awesome D3 school, super into sports, and they have great facilities. I loved my visit when I went for my interview, and I'm super excited to get there and be on campus and be able to meet all my girls in person and not just over the phone. And be able to do that.
Yeah, so D3, of course,
Hmm.
there's, that the hard part about D3 is kind of the recruiting, right? Because
Yep.
can't offer athletic scholarships, but it's a different field of D3.
Hmm.
How are you going to approach recruiting for Albion College?
Well, currently, since women's wrestling is all one division, D3 doesn't really matter other than the fact that we can't give out those athletic scholarships. So
Yep.
finding girls that are driven in school, that want to wrestle, and that school is their priority, and maybe wrestling is that second priority on that list. Um, and just reaching out to those girls that are really wanting that, and not looking for school just based on an athletic scholarship because North Central, they're D3, they're the number two school in the country for
Yep.
women's wrestling. So being D3 shouldn't deteriorate from being able to recruit really high level athletes that are really smart and want to be in school.
Yeah, I know from my experience being around a lot of wrestlers and parents, that's one of the first questions. Well, how much money are you giving me to wrestle?
Yep.
And you're like, well, I'm not, but if you look at the bottom line, you're paying less,
Yeah, you're
so
getting a more individualized college experience since usually D3s are smaller schools, class
yeah,
sizes are smaller. We get to really hone in on what you want to do with your schooling and what your goals are. And also being able to have those more individualized practices because we don't have 40 girls on our team, we have 25.
yep.
And being able to focus on each individual athlete.
what are going to be some key things to building that team culture? I know you've been on some awesome teams and you've been involved in some great teams. How are you going to build a good team culture there?
Um, I like to lead by example, so I come to practice with a positive attitude every day. I know there's been a couple practices I've came to the high school practice. I just had a terrible day, and I'm all sad and like just down. And all my girls, they feel it and they feed off that energy. So I try to be super energetic at every practice. Just making sure that the girls know that I'm there for them, for like their mental and physical health. I want them to be as healthy as possible. Um, and lots of team bonding stuff, um, and lots of wrestling, because we wrestle better people, we get better, and better people want to come wrestle with us. So,
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. So, your coaching style, I mean, obviously you're very hands-on. You have a lot of
yes.
experience. I'm guessing you're going to be in the room a lot, handling technique and all that.
Yeah.
Um, any other things that you could say about your coaching style? Maybe that if we're using this for recruiting purposes also.
Um, Yeah, I am a very hands-on coach, so I will demonstrate it for you, and explain it while I'm doing that, and have you go try it. If you have any problems with it, I will come over and have you do it on me so I can feel what you're doing wrong or how you're doing it, and give you corrections that way. I also have done it on their partner so that their partner knows what it's supposed to feel like, so I can walk over and help another group so they can be like, oh no, it's supposed to be up higher, or you're not putting enough pressure here. Just so their partners can help coach them as well. Um, and then on the side of the mat, at tournaments, I'm very loud, very energetic. Um, all my girls can hear me 100% of the time. I usually leave the meet, no voice. Um, I try to dress for success at meets. Um, for my high school meets, I'm in a blazer or a pantsuit, like big old bow in my hair, sparkly shoes. The officials
Nice.
at tournaments called me Coach Sparkles, just because if I'm dressed for success, my girls will want to compete for success. So,
Yeah, I
um,
like that too.
yeah,
I agree with you. I'm a shirt and tie guy at duels, always, and I try to throw a little flair in there too. My shoes are always kind of crazy. So yeah,
yeah,
I agree with you. It's good to be a little bit different, so they know they don't have to be conform. They can be
yeah,
different, right? And then
exactly.
and then just you're right, dressing for success, make it an important, very important thing. Um, in D3, man, NIL is such a big thing right now. Do you know how, I mean, is it trickling down to D3? Is it affecting D3? Are you helping them with getting some NIL deals or not? I mean, I don't know where we're at yet.
Um, Currently, I do not know the answer to that question.
Okay.
I haven't been on campus much, and haven't been in the D3 realm very long.
Uh-huh.
Both the colleges I went to were D2, minus my first school, which was D1. And we didn't have NILs when I was in college. So,
Yeah.
still working on learning all about the NILs, and if I can get my girls an NIL deal, I will do everything I can to help get them that.
Yeah, it's such a new thing and it's such a different roadmap. I interview prior to yours, and it will come out a week before you, was Allie Reagan, and she
Yeah.
deals a lot with OT. Oh, sorry, Allie St. John. Sorry, I get that, but she deals with the OTC and or the training center and all that stuff. So yeah, and it's still hard for her to figure that out. And
Yeah.
I was just seeing where we're at in the D3 realms. If we're getting some there, it'd be really cool. I mean, that kind of takes away from the whole D3 thing. You're not getting a scholarship, but you're making money. So, hey, that'd be great,
Yeah.
right? Be awesome to get paid to be an athlete. One of the things that I've seen, and it's either an idea for you or seeing if you were going to do it anyway, a lot of the more successful schools, both NAI and D3 that are in my area in Iowa, uh,
Mhm.
they run a club also, like a high school youth club out of it. Are you thinking about running that, or will you have time? Are you the only coach?
So they've hired one of the um recently graduated men's wrestlers to be the full-time assistant for both the men's and women's team. So I will have like a part-time assistant that I share with the men's coach at the school. And I don't know how they run clubs up there yet. Um, so I would love to run a club up there, or go help out at one of the local clubs, if I'm not able to run a club by myself, especially the first year. I don't know if
Yeah.
I'm going to have enough time to be able to do all the recruiting and like get all my
Yeah.
roots
So I
settled, to be able to run a club and the college team first year out. But if I'm able to, I'd love to run a club because I love coaching, and the more kids that I can help, the better.
Awesome. That's awesome. Um, I'm going to go backwards now. Let's
That's
go
okay.
back and see where you kind of where you got started. You were a multi-sport athlete. You were even a multi-sport athlete in college.
Yes.
So let's talk about your athletic background.
Okay. So from the beginning, I started in tumbling and trampoline, which is a area of gymnastics. Did that all through high or since I was 4 years old until my freshman year of college. And then I coached that in college one of the years when I was in Illinois. Um, And then all through high school, I did wrestling all 4 years, track all 4 years, diving all 4 years, played football for a year, ran cross country for a year. I was very multi-sport in high school. I was also band and choir, did all of the things. I went to college to dive and I missed wrestling, so I transferred and decided to do both diving and wrestling. Did that for 3 years, while doing 20 credit hours a semester and keeping a 3.8 GPA. Um, and when I graduated, I went to coach diving and ended up wrestling for the school that I went to coach for, because I missed diving or I missed wrestling again. And then I moved back here to Colorado, and I've been coaching wrestling for the past 2 years here, and now I'm headed out to Michigan to continue coaching wrestling.
And so you had time for a couple jobs in there too, didn't you? You know, when doing all those things. Holy crap.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't know how you did all that. I barely can handle getting up and going to work on my daily basis. But no,
Yeah, I
that's
like being very busy.
yes, you do. So how did you get started wrestling?
So when I was in eighth grade, actually, the Des Moines Public Schools added a middle school program, and one of my high school coaches, Michael Taryn, he was my civics teacher. And he had asked if my brother wanted to wrestle at parent teacher conferences. And I had no idea what wrestling was. Like, no clue at all. I know I'm from Iowa, but my parents never wrestled. My family never wrestled. Didn't have a clue. And I was like, why didn't you ask me? So at this point, women's wrestling wasn't huge. But they're like, if you want to wrestle, we'll take you. And so I showed up on Monday to practice, and have been wrestling ever since.
Nice. So do you remember your first match at all?
Uh, yeah, I'm pretty sure I got pinned in my first match ever. Because I'd practiced for like a week, maybe.
Uh-huh.
Still had no idea what to do. I was wearing a leotard under my singlet, had my hairnet on. My stance was like super
So
crazy.
so
But
the hair
yeah,
the
it was
hairnet. The
yeah.
hairnet.
Oh,
Was that the greatest thing to get rid of the hairnet?
yeah. Yeah. I was
They were
really happy
horrible.
when I got to college and didn't have to wear one, or went to folk or freestyle season and didn't have to
Yeah.
wear one.
Yeah, I had just purchased over the year before they changed that rule. I bought like 10 the head things for the girls, so we're because I knew I would have about 6 or 7 girls the next year, so I
Yeah.
bought a bunch, and then they changed the rule on me. It's horrible, horrible timing on my part. That's all right. So was there a moment while you're wrestling that you said, "Hey, this is really what I meant to do"?
So I had decided that I was gonna dive in college, my like junior year of high school, even though I'd been wrestling the same amount of time that I'd been diving. Um But wrestling is a sport that I got to choose myself. My parents were like, "You were a trampolinist. Like, diving is going to be easy. You're going to get scholarships. It's going to be great." And I was very good at diving. I'm not going to say I wasn't. I took second at NCAA's. I took second at state. Like, I went D1 for diving.
Yep.
But 2 weeks before I left for college, I had signed up for the AAU Junior Olympics in Des Moines
Yeah. Yeah.
because they had added a girls division that you didn't have to qualify for. They just wanted girls to be in there and wrestling. And I signed up for it like super last minute because I had already signed up because I was competing tumbling and trampoline at the Junior
Hmm.
Olympics. I went down in my leotard to weigh in.
Yep.
Um, and I was wrestling and I was like, I picked the wrong sport. I should be wrestling in college. Um, but I think that moment when I was like, wrestling's done for me, because I'm going to college for diving, was really when I was like, no, I really want to wrestle. Like, this is
Yeah.
what I want to do. So I think
Yeah.
right before I went to college was when I was like, I want to wrestle more. I want to keep
Gotcha.
doing it.
Yeah, I remember that Junior Olympics. That was kind of a neat deal because they had the little clinic ahead of time.
Hmm.
I can't remember how to pronounce her name, but they had a clinician from Wrestle Like a Girl there.
Yep.
Maybe, what would you guess, 30, 40 girls tops.
Yeah, my bracket was like 125 to like 138 combined because
Yep.
there was like five of us total between those weights.
Yeah.
And we even had one girl bump up from the lower weight class to double bracket because she wanted more matches. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was,
I don't miss those. I love those days because it was
yeah,
fun because we knew everybody
yeah,
and it was a really family environment. Not that it's not it's girls wrestling still in high school is still kind of that way,
yeah,
but it's getting so big you don't know everybody, but it's cool to meet new people. But I miss those days, but I'm glad we're not in those days any longer. You know,
yeah.
you know what I mean? Um,
It's real nice
what
to
are
have a
some
lot of girls at tournaments.
yeah, like female elite wrestling. I'm sure you did that. I know you did that one year because that's how where I met you. But did you
Yep.
do that one a few times too? Or what did you all do for girls wrestling tournaments when you were in high school?
So in high school, my first 2 years, I wrestled at the Wrestle Like a Girl tournament my freshman year of high school, and I came straight from a track meet. We had got home at like 3 in the morning, and I woke up, went to weigh-ins, and I was like, I'm wrestling girls. This is gonna be easy. Lost
Yep.
my first match, and I was like, oh shit. Um, so then I like locked in, finished third. My second year, I was like, I'm not going to that meet. I don't have time. But then my junior and senior year, I went and I was like, I'm gonna win this singlet. That was my goal. So I did.
Uh-huh.
I went and wrestled it 2017 and 2018. Won my bracket for both of them. 2017, um, my high school coach Roland was like, "Don't you want to be a pioneer in this sport, Jolynn? Let's go to Fargo." And I was like, "That's my only week off this entire summer." And he's like, "Perfect. You can wrestle." So I
Yeah,
did. I went and wrestled there. I went 2-2. But it
not
was a
bad.
great experience and
Yeah.
it was like my first big girls tournament ever
Yep.
because the Wrestle Like a Girl tournaments, again, like 5 to 8 people in my bracket, so not huge. I had like a 32-man bracket, which is the first time ever for a girls tournament for me.
Yeah.
Um,
Do
and
you
they
remember
had
who
like,
was do you remember who else was on your Fargo team that year? I'm trying to
I
think.
had Emma, um, and Tatum and Felicity, um, and then Jess was our coach. There was a couple other girls, on that team, but it was a real small team. But it was super fun
But you
to
look
go
at the
out
girls that
there
were on that
and
team. Holy crap.
yeah,
I mean, yeah,
yeah,
there's some hammers on that team. And there's
oh yeah,
I mean, Emma's still wrestling and or
yep,
Ella's still wrestling. I mean, yeah, so that's just crazy to think that God, it doesn't seem like that long ago, but it is that long ago, isn't
Yeah,
it? Crazy.
exactly. Like, and some of these girls are like super awesome right now. Like Felicity just made the senior
Yeah,
world team, and Emma's coaching Simpson. Like, we have
yeah,
so many good girls that have kept with it and are helping grow the sport, and it's super awesome.
yeah. I'm excited to watch Felicity. I actually was just at a clinic with her a couple weeks ago, and it was really
Yeah,
cool to talk to her and her mindset because one of the I did a short interview with her, and I asked her, that loss uh, at U.S. Open.
yeah,
How have you bounced back? And she was locked in, and she said there's no way if I wouldn't have had that loss that I would have won, world team trials. And she's like, I will not lose two matches at that. So I knew I she was locked
yeah.
in, man, and it was
That's awesome.
fun to talk to her and listen to her, and it was really cool. So your diving career at Iowa, um, how was the University of Iowa for you, and what made your decision to head out to Colorado? I mean, if I could wake up in the mountains every day, I probably wouldn't be a hard decision to make. But what went into your decision making on that?
So I went in my freshman year. Like I said, 2 weeks before I left, I was like, I chose the wrong sport. So I kind of went in with like not the best mindset going into college for diving. But I dove there. Like they have super awesome facilities and great athletic training and coaches and everything like that. But I just felt like I was still kind of stuck in high school because a lot of the kids from my high school went there. Um, and I just wanted to like be a new person, like grow, and see what I'm capable of. Um, and so I had told my coach after Christmas break, like the first day back, that once the season was over, I was planning on transferring. Didn't know if I was ever going to dive again because I just wanted to wrestle. And so I had finished the season because I was raised, you start something, you finish it.
Yep.
So I finished the season out. Once I was done, I had um told my coach I'm going in the transfer portal. I think that was like the first year of the transfer portal actually.
Uh-huh.
And so um the swim coach at Mesa actually saw my profile and sent it to Travis, the head coach at Mesa, because it was their first year as a program. So they had like five girls on the team and they were looking
Uh-huh.
for people to come wrestle. Um, and they were like, if you can get her to come do both, that'd be awesome. So they had talked about it multiple times before even contacting me about how they would get me to be able to do both within NCAA parameters and being able to practice and go to meets because they're the same season.
Yeah.
So I would have to like do half of the dive practices and half of the wrestling practices. So I wasn't going over any NCAA rules. Um, Lots of optional practices for me because I can only have 20 hours of mandatory practice as a D2 athlete.
Uh-huh.
And so they'd called me, talked to me about wrestling and all about wrestling and didn't even bring up diving until like right before we hung up the call. And they were like, yeah, so we'd love to set up a visit for you. And actually, the dive coach also would like you to do a visit if you are interested. Like, we'd love to have you do both sports at the school. I was like, are you gonna actually let me do both sports since they are the same season? And they're
Yeah.
like, yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll make it work. So I got to Colorado and did my visit, and I loved it. And me and the coaches were on the same page about everything. And my first year here, it was great. We were all on the same page. I was going to my practices. Um, they needed me more at this diving competition than they needed me at this wrestling meet. Then I'd be here instead of here. And I flew from wrestling nationals
Uh-huh.
to diving nationals. They
Oh,
were
wow.
the same week. So I went with the wrestlers to Michigan. Actually, we were in Adrian was my first year, and my wrestling coach would take me to the middle school so I could go do a dive practice after our wrestling practice was over while he's getting the rest of the girls dinner, and then come swing, pick me up like an hour and a half later, just so I could still get my training in while I'm at wrestling nationals. Um, and then I'd wrestle, and they'd either drop me off at the airport, or if my parents were there, if it was close enough, my parents would just drive me over to the next meet. Because normally they were like, that year I think I drove actually with my parents because I think nationals for diving was in Ohio. And so it was like 3 hours away. So my
Uh-huh.
parents were like, you can just drive her. And they were like, okay. And I met my diving team there right when I got there, did a practice with them, and then competed all week with them.
Man, but that's really that's a cool experience that very few people have. And kudos to your
Yeah.
coaches for figuring it out. You
Yeah.
know, I've had a few athletes that were kind of torn between two sports too, and they heard, well, you know, I'm not sure we can do that because of whatever reason. I don't feel
Yeah.
you'll be as good, you know, feel you'll be good at this, you know, if you split your time. But that's really neat that they took the time to say, hey, we want you to be successful at both sports and we're going to make it
Yeah.
work.
Yeah. It was
That's
super awesome. It was a great experience. And I'm
that is
really
neat.
glad that they allowed me to do both sports for all
Yeah,
3 years that I was here.
and waking up in Colorado every day. I mean, we've been friends on social media for years and years and years now. So I
Yeah.
would see your pictures of the mountains and your adventures and stuff. What's the environment around? We'll give them a little plug too, Colorado Mesa. What's
Yeah.
the environment around there, and what's there all to do?
So Colorado Mesa is in a high desert, so it's actually like pretty nice climate all the time. If it snows, it lasts till about noon and then it's gone. So that's super nice. We have the mesas that you can go hiking, lots of hiking, mountain biking and stuff like that. And then we have the river that runs straight through town that you can go floating the river, paddle boarding. You can do whitewater rafting about an hour away. There's hot springs everywhere. Moab is about an hour and a half away in one direction. So we have a lot of awesome outdoorsy things like really close. So it's super fun.
I don't know if you can see this guy on our screen or not.
Yeah, I can.
I thought it would be kind of cool to have your high school coach join us.
Okay.
How you doing today, Dustin?
I'm good. How are you guys?
I'm
Doing
good.
great. We were
Uh,
just talking about her college experience, but you were her high school coach. What was this young lady like in high school?
well, she didn't come alone. She came with a brother and another sister that was a manager, and the whole family was just a complete pleasure to have throughout their time. Joe, as you obviously have probably starting to put together, is a special person. You know, was involved in so many different activities in high school and was still able to succeed across the board on all of them. So she was a special one, and we're very thankful and blessed to have had her in our program. And super excited about everything to come.
So what was it like to have this crazy guy as your coach?
Oh, I loved having him as a coach. Because when he was a little younger, when he was my coach, he was a little bit more mean, you know. Now he's got daughters. Now he's a little softer.
He's all soft now.
But I like having a hard coach, someone that'll tell me what I need to be doing and when I need to be doing it and how I need to do it correctly. And someone that's gonna push me like that. So I was really appreciative of him as a coach. I remember giving him a teddy bear one time, for one of his Christmas presents so that he could take his anger out on the teddy bear.
Nice.
All true,
So
sir. All true.
So one of the questions that I like to ask, and it's usually a little later on when we're getting to know you, but I'm going to throw this out here now since Mr. Rowland has joined us. Is there something that you hear all the time in the back of your head from a coach? Maybe it's situational on wrestling, but you hear Dustin Rowland in the back of your mind going, oh, "This is what coach would have said." Is there something you can remember from practice or meets?
Oh, I don't know. I hear him on my head all the time. Um, Nobody cares. Work harder.
Nobody cares. Work harder. Nice.
Yep.
That was before that saying was popular, actually.
Yeah.
You might have coined that for saying, huh?
I don't
You
know
should.
about that, but
I don't
it
know.
was
We
a
had,
lot of
I'm
years
pretty
ago.
sure we had shirts that said it.
We
So,
did probably like, what year did you graduate, Joe?
2018.
So that's probably like 2016, 2015, something like
Yeah.
that.
Man.
Yep.
So, she was a pioneer in girls wrestling. You
Yeah,
took her up to Fargo.
sure.
Did you guys spend a lot of time working freestyle ahead of time, or was that just let's go out and do some freestyle?
So I believe in that time frame back then, Joe. Wasn't Pablo working? Weren't we working with Pablo? But
Yeah, we were
honestly,
working
during
with
the spring and
Pablo.
summer, you were probably tracking it, and I don't know what you're probably wrestling in the summer, but
Yeah, I did a
um,
couple summer practices. I also went in and I lifted a lot, and our lifting coach at that time, Matt, I believe, his dad was one of the coaches here in Colorado Springs, and so he would help me with some freestyle stuff a little bit in the summer as well. But yeah, most of our freestyle was during like club practices with Pablo and
yeah.
that.
That's awesome. I thought it'd be fun because Dustin and I have become pretty good friends over the last few years, and I know that you're a big part of him getting into girls wrestling. So without having girls like Jolynn and stuff, would you think you'd be coaching girls still right now? I mean, she was pretty awesome.
Well, we had Jolynn in one of the years we had Jolynn. She recruited like her diving buddy. Have you guys talked about diving at all, Troy?
Oh
A little
yeah,
bit.
we've talked about a little
Okay,
bit.
okay. So she recruited her diving buddy, and then we had like three other girls randomly come out. This is like 2016 or 17.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we had
So
the most girls in
yeah, we had
Iowa
like five
ever to
girls
be
on
on
our
a
team
team.
before anybody had any girls. And so that was super fun at that point in time. Like the DesMoines Public Schools did a little story on it. I'm like, hey, the goal next year is 10. And then just kind of never worked
And then it
out
was
from
back to
there.
one.
Yeah, right. But honestly, I coached high school softball
oh,
for 10, 12 years between eighth grade and high school. I actually coached with my dad at Bondurant. And so that was a pretty cool experience for 8 years. So like then I was coaching and then the wrestling, the girls thing started. And with my background in coaching high school girls and obviously wrestling, it seemed like, and obviously we've had this conversation, Troy, a few times.
yeah.
What Ankeny had to offer was, hard to turn down, so.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. No, I did a little social media digging on pictures and stuff, and I was like, holy crap, you guys had a big team for that time. Because I think
Mhm.
I was running around with like two girls thinking I had something going on,
It
Because we
was
talked.
other than Jolynn recruiting the one, and I think the other ones just showed up, didn't they, Joe?
We
Or
had
was
two
there?
soccer girls that weren't going to be eligible for soccer.
Sure,
They
that's
came
probably
out
what it
for a
was.
winter sport and they wanted to try wrestling. They were both
Yeah.
seniors. And then one of the other girls, her brother was on the team.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'll keep going with our interview. You hop in whenever you want to, Dustin.
Okay.
You hop in and we were just talking about the time. This is about the time she's headed over to McKendree to to coach diving, actually.
Yep.
So,
Okay.
you were at Colorado Mesa doing two sports, crazy amount of activities, keeping a
Yep.
3.8, and then you went to McKendree. How'd you over there?
Yep. So when right before I graduated college, they had posted the coaching position at McKendree. My diving coach at that time had sent me the job application, and then my previous coach had also sent me the job application. And I was like, I don't know if I want to move to Illinois, but like if everyone's sending me this application, like it's probably a good thing to have on my resume and like a good thing to go do. So I had applied for it. I just graduated with exercise science and a minor in coaching. So coaching is what I want to do. And it was a graduate assistant program. So I would be getting a master's paid for while I'm coaching. So I knew a lot about diving and I love coaching. and I wasn't sure about a master's at that point in time. But I was like, it can't hurt to start a free master's. So
Yep.
I went over there and started two different master's programs because I didn't know what I wanted to do. And coached my year at McKendree. Not only did I coach diving there, I coached a power tumbling and trampoline team in town, and then I also wrestled for McKendree. Since I was a graduate assistant, I was able to compete still with my year of eligibility since it was not the sport that I was getting paid to coach. Um, so lots of NCAA hoops to jump through, but we jumped through all of them. And my coach out there, Alexio, he would hold individuals for me so that I could get all my practices in and still be um, able to coach when I was already scheduled to coach because I wasn't planning on wrestling when I got there. Um, but their head coach had left that summer as well, so they were trying to build their team back up. And yeah, so I coached diving there for a year. Had a double All-American in diving under my belt. That year, she placed the highest any girl on that team had ever placed. So that was super cool to coach and watch her like shoot up from the year previous. And then I just wasn't getting paid enough to justify staying out there since I didn't really like the master's programs that they had there, and I felt like I wasn't getting good use out of my time. So I decided to move back to Colorado, and I've been working at the pools and helping out with the college, high school, and club teams out here. So
Crazy.
doing lots and lots of things out here.
So now that you've coached, and I'll ask Dustin the same question since he's on here. Um, we've all been athletes. What's more fulfilling? What's more rewarding, being an athlete or coaching?
Oh, coaching for sure. I still go out and wrestle. Like I wrestled at the US Open and then I did beach nationals like just for fun, but I get way more joy out of my kids succeeding than I ever did winning or losing a match. So, I think coaching is way more rewarding personally.
I would second that hands down, not even close, not even close. So, what also helps is like Joe, you'll get there someday when your kids do well too. That's awesome. That's a different feeling on its own. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a different. Yeah, it is a completely different separation between coach and dad, and that's a hard one, but it's a real. Every
sure,
girl I've talked
can
to and
be.
had on, every girl I've had on here that's had a dad coach has been like it's the greatest experience in the world, but it's also tricky and it can be kind of hard. So no,
Yep.
that's really
I
cool.
can
Why
attest.
don't we?
Joe, your
I
dad was your coach, right?
Yep.
In trampoline.
Yep.
Yeah. So, I had told you we were going to talk a little bit about your dad.
Yep.
He passed away early, and I don't
Yep.
even know the circumstances behind that, but you were very close to your dad. How has that kind of driven you, and what has that done for you personally, and how has that affected your life?
Yeah. So my dad has been my coach since, or was my coach since I was 4 years old, all the way like through college. He would, whenever he was at my diving meets, he'd be coaching me from the stands, because he had dove in college as well. So he knew a lot about diving, flipping, trampoline, tumbling, all of that. So, and I had coached with him since I was like 9. He would be like, look at what they're doing. Show them what they're doing wrong. Show them how to do it right. And then I would help coach the little kids. And then when I was 13, I was our assistant coach. So I was coaching alongside him and just like learning from him. Um, when he did pass away, it was the middle of my senior year of college. Um, Very sudden accident at home, and no one was prepared for it. Um, but putting together like his funeral and all the pictures and all the messages from everybody reaching out was like really cool to see how many lives he actually touched because he'd been coaching since he was in college as well. um Gymnastics, diving, football, like everything. He had coached it all. But like seeing all of his old athletes like show up from like all around the country to like pay their respects at his funeral and stuff was like super awesome to see. And that was just like solidified like how much I can make an impact as a coach. And every time I'm coaching, I'm like, oh, my dad is watching. Like, I know, like, he'd be so stoked that I'm gonna go be a head college coach. And apparently, his high school was Albion, uh, high school in Illinois,
Really?
actually.
Well,
Yeah, my uncle just told me that when I had told him that I had gotten the job there, and I was like, that can't be a coincidence. So just knowing that, like, he's always there, and knowing that all the things I learned from him as a coach, is gonna help so many people is super awesome.
yeah. Well, yeah, being a coach is quite an amazing. It's an amazing feeling and it's awesome. And then your dad affected so many different people, and it's really cool to hear that story. It is.
Yeah.
Dustin, I met this young lady. I don't know if you ever heard the story of how I met her, but I ended up she broke her nose wrestling Tatum Park, and I shoved a couple nose plugs in her nose so she could keep wrestling because I just happened to be standing there and I had some nose plugs along with me, and so that was probably what your sophomore junior year
That
somewhere
was
in
my
there.
senior year.
That
That
was
was
your
my
senior
senior
year.
year.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Where
that's
was
how
that
I
at?
At
that was
Independence.
yes,
Okay.
female elites
Oh,
Yeah.
Charlotte's tournament and stuff. And I can't remember how many people were probably, maybe what 45, 50, 70 girls max,
Yeah.
all divisions and stuff. It's crazy that I mean, how many girls are you bringing up to Fargo this year?
are
Are
you,
you
who are you
bringing
asking?
One of us.
I'm asking you. I'm asking you right now, Dustin. Sorry.
We have seven. We have seven, but I'm sure Joe's got some of her girls that maybe she's departing from that'll be there.
Yeah, I think four of my high schoolers are going, and then I have a couple club. I have a lot of club kids that are going, for the littler kids. So
And so how many girls total from Iowa are going? Do you know? It's got to be around
I
100,
I
doesn't it?
am not certain on
You're
that.
not certain.
I can tell you more about the boys
Yeah,
side.
I know. I thought you might have had it's got to be somewhere near 100 though,
It's
doesn't it?
yeah, it's probably just under 100. It was at 100 last year, so that's a good number. So give or
Yeah.
take 10 around 100. I can look it up maybe here real quick
That's
and
but
tell you.
you're taking you're we're taking as many girls to a tournament as used to
as
be
we're
in like
at a tournament.
at a tournament or in the entire state.
Yeah.
That's it's a crazy amount. How many do you know how many are going from Colorado? Any idea?
I'm not sure. Probably around the same number, maybe a little less.
Somewhere in there. But that's just insane because there'll be 2,000 girls wrestling in Fargo ish,
Yeah.
probably. That's an insane amount to think that I think the first year I coached high school girls, there was 22 in the state, if I remember right. So
Yeah. That's
it's
crazy.
crazy. Yeah. Well, let's move on and I'm going to go to the portion of the podcast where we get to know you a little bit better. And since Dustin's on, we might as well get to know him too, right?
Yeah.
Everybody he's kind of a villain in the state of Iowa, so we want to let people know that he's actually a pretty decent guy. But we'll start with this. We'll start Jolynn and then go to Dustin after each way so we don't get confused. Do you have any pets right now?
I do not have any pets. I'm not a huge animal person. I'm more of a human person.
Okay.
Um, so I like to babysit. Yeah, no pets. I dog sit sometimes. Short periods of time though.
So you're not an animal person, huh?
Not really. Nope.
Okay. How about in the Roland household? How many pets do we got?
We have two pets. We have about 11-year-old dog, Saber. He's kind of a mutt, black and white. Looks like a short-haired husky color-wise. And then we have a little orange cat that is named Tigress.
Ooh, nice.
So that's a new addition to the family within
Very
the last
nice.
year or so. I've been anti-cat my whole life until now I kind of like the little girl.
I don't mind them. I'm allergic to cats. Something about their dander, and I grew up with cats, and now I can't pet them. I can be in a room with them, but I
Oof.
cannot pet them.
I was
So it's
allergic growing up, but apparently I am fine now.
your immune system got better, mine got worse.
Yes.
It must be the good living there in Des Moines. Um, Favorite wrestling shoe?
Um, I don't know. I just normally get some Asics, not any like fancy ones. Um, yeah, I have some pink ones and some black and gold ones. My black and gold ones are my favorite ones, but I've almost worn the sole out of them, so I'm gonna have to stop wearing those, unfortunately.
You probably get those fixed nowadays.
Yeah. Well, if they're
Probably
old
good.
school Asics, they don't you can't hardly get rid of those. That's the way to go. New shoes kind of last you about a season if you're lucky, it
Yeah.
seems
Yeah,
like.
if you're lucky. I have a lot of shoes. I have my favorite pair to wear in practice are like the black Adidas Varner
Hmm.
ones. But other than that, I generally wear like Adidas. They're just more comfortable.
Yeah,
I like the looks and I like Nike, but I like to wear the Adidas. They're softer.
they are
I
very
just got my
Um,
first
I
just got my
also
first pair of Inflicts, so I'm kind of
yeah,
excited.
saw
I
that.
haven't broke them in yet, but
I have
I'm
a few
excited
pairs
to
of those that I wear.
yeah.
I have I will tell you though, Troy, I have those legends. You know those A6 legends?
Yeah, yeah.
And I have them signed by everybody on them, which is pretty cool. I obviously don't wear those. They sit in my closet in a box, but someday I'll display them somewhere.
That's cool.
Yeah,
That
so
is cool.
Gable, Rulon, Sanderson, and who's the other one?
It's not
Baumgartner, Bruce Baumgartner.
yep, yep.
So
I, that's cool. That's really neat. You got them all signed too. Yeah,
I know
that's
I love
definitely
those.
that's got to go behind glass sometime somewhere.
Sure, absolutely.
That's
Right,
awesome.
right.
Uh,
Give them to
post
museums.
weigh, yep. Post weigh in. What did you eat?
Ooh, I would take one piece of bread, some mayonnaise, a piece of ham, and a piece of pepper jack cheese and make a half a sandwich. And then a couple pieces of fruit. Um, and then a blue Powerade.
Has to be
Yeah,
blue
that's what,
Powerade.
yep, a blue Powerade. That's what I would have after weigh-ins.
So
Um,
and
Go ahead.
I was going to say, it probably has changed since when you were a wrestler to what you want your athletes to eat. Because I know when I got done with the weigh-in, it was usually like about a 2 liter bottle of Mountain Dew and like a Snickers. But,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but
My high
so
schoolers
what?
actually get really good food. The parents like cook it all. They like, get mini pancakes and sausage and egg little bites. They have yogurts and everything like all set out. So the girls don't even have to bring their own food for my high school girls. They also get lunch fed to them. Like they get
Yeah.
healthy protein, everything that they need. So that was super awesome that my parents do. So
What's the Ankeny girls? What's their go-to after weigh-in meals?
Oh, we do those little like I can't remember what they're called, the little buns with some meat. We got all stuff. Our parents do coolers too. We got anything you need. Um, that's funny you asked for me. Like in high school, it was different because we waited in the morning.
Yeah.
So we had all day. Like we waited in before school and went to school and came back and waited, I was gonna say wait in at 6, but no, started warming up and wrestle. So um I always went to I always went to Dairy Queen and got a slushie the night before and froze it. And then
Ooh.
after just weigh-ins, I would just chunk at it and eat it. It was amazing.
Oh,
That was
that
kind of my
sounds
go-to.
amazing.
Got better in college, but that was that. And I usually had a breakfast sandwich from the school lunch line at Lincoln because I weighed in at Lincoln, and then I went
yep.
to school at Des Moines Christian, so I had to drive across town after being there to weigh in. I would get my sandwich at Lincoln and then in the car and head to school at Des Moines Christian.
Now, after your last weigh-in, well, you're still wrestling, Joe. I guess you're also U.S. Open kind of wrestling. So
Yep.
it's your last weigh-in. You'll never have to weigh in again. Where are you gonna go eat and what are you gonna have?
Okay, so after the US Open, I actually after I was done competing, we went and got some soup dumplings and I put down like 19 soup dumplings plus cucumber salad and like a bunch of other dumplings. Soup is my favorite food group and Chinese food is like my favorite like type of food. So, um, yeah, definitely Chinese food.
Gotcha.
And soup dumplings if possible.
How about you, Dustin? Where's your go-to? What's the restaurant in Des Moines you head out to?
Well, Joe's gonna laugh, but Tamia's or even Coco and Nini's now, which is in Carlisle.
Oh yeah,
So two Italian, traditionally Italian restaurants from being from the south side of Des Moines. So
those are very good restaurants.
yeah.
Wrestling takes us a lot of different places. Obviously, we get to travel a little bit. Um, where's been like your favorite place to go and wrestle?
Um, I I don't know. Probably I like Vegas. It's fun. I haven't gone out of the country yet. But I'm possibly going to Egypt in October for beach wrestling. So that would be
Oh,
really cool.
wow. That'd be
Um,
really cool.
yeah, so I'm excited about that. Got to send him in my passport so that I can secure my spot. But yeah, I think Vegas is just fun. I've never been anywhere outside of the country, so everywhere else there's not much to do around it. But plenty of plenty of things to do out in Vegas, especially
Yes, there
since
are.
I've only been 21 since I've gone to those meets. So,
Yeah, no, that's Vegas is a good time. I've been there a lot of years, a lot of times. So, where's your favorite place to go, Dustin?
So, I mean, I don't know. I guess you'd have to say Fargo, but after so many years, it's just that's another thing, right? But
Uh-huh.
a lot of the trips like Spokane or going out to Vegas with my son previously, I look at it more as like individual trips rather than locations because we're all there to wrestle anyway.
Yeah.
If you can do something cool on the side, that's great too. But just being able to go anywhere. I like going to Northern Plains as long as our girls wrestle in a timely manner, which has been a struggle the last couple of years, but the concept of like how many girls you bring in or athletes, I guess you should say, compared to, whether you just have a couple would add to the excitement. So
yeah.
it's hard to say one location, but we've had some memorable trips over the years. Been to Myrtle Beach for Super 32 during COVID, which is why it was down in Myrtle Beach versus North Carolina. So some great individual trips, and they're just all good. And that's one of the great things that wrestling has done is allowed you to travel all over in places you probably wouldn't have got to. So
Yeah, all my vacations revolve around a wrestling tournament. So, it's it's just the way it is. So, if we're gonna go through the categories of moves here. You're still coaching high school girls, correct? Joe?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
so these
At
will
the
still
moment, yeah.
count. We'll throw in your favorite freestyle too. So, favorite takedown,
Oh, blast double.
Dustin?
uh beauty wise, yes, my favorite to teach and my favorite that prides me when our girls do is front headlock bounce go behind.
Yep.
Nice. And big scores. A lot of everybody scores off that. That's the
Sure.
most scored position in wrestling, isn't
Yeah,
it?
Yep.
100%. If
There you
you
go.
watch like that super match with David Taylor and Sadulayev, Sadulayev scored on four go behinds.
Yep.
So,
Favorite pinning combination, Joe?
A bar.
oh, Joe, I was
I
gonna be mad if you said anything else.
I love bars.
And
Barm,
so bar arm and so is that so I say bar arm too, but I get people tell me all the time, well, that's chicken wing. Are we talking
chicken
the same
wing.
thing? Okay, because
Yes.
I
Yes,
still
it's the
say
same
bar,
thing.
and I believe in Oklahoma, they call that the over bar. Actually, the chicken wing series is an over bar. Hey, look at that! How old are you? 3? Awesome.
Three?
Are we wrestling yet? Very good.
Yeah.
Off the bottom, I know you've been wrestling freestyle for quite a while now, but what do you teach the girls? How do you teach them to get away off the bottom?
Um, I like to just teach a stand up. But I have some girls that are really good at switching, so I like to teach the ones that are a little more advanced in wrestling their switch. Just because some of our girls are really analytical and they get really confused really fast. So,
So I'm going to keep writing notes here on Dustin so I know what I have to coach against. But what are you teaching the girls to get off
I mean,
bottom?
obviously, again, you got pretty moves, you got Granbys, you got switches when they work are beautiful.
Yeah.
Um, But like what makes me the happiest right now is just like an explosive stand up off the whistle or get jammed forward knee slide stand up. I mean, I just appreciate basic moves.
Yeah. No, I do
And
too.
and that's what our go-to has to be, in my opinion. So
Now I'm gonna go to our pre-match music, and I know Joe's got some interesting. Jolynn had some great music to listen to. What's your favorite thing to listen to before you dive or wrestle?
Okay, before diving, I would listen to Disney music only. That's all I would listen to was on a Disney station, just playing through. For wrestling, actually, like complete opposite. I'd have like 90s rap, 90s, early 2000s rap. So,
Nice. Not bad. That's all right to go with. I can deal with that. How about you, Dustin? Did you have a Walkman back in the day, and did you listen to music before matches?
I had a Discman, yes, and I remember listening to like Bush, um, Machine Head, songs like that. Um, Now I have no control over what's being played. Most of the time I have to ask them, next, next, can't
Yep.
handle it, next.
skip.
Yes, I get yelled at anytime I try to put my playlist on, which is usually 80s hair band stuff, and it doesn't make it very long in our room.
I was gonna say
What's
Jolynn probably said that 90s rap because that was probably what I was playing back then in your guys' room. You probably that's all you had the opportunity to listen to.
Yeah, but then I'd put it on my
Sure.
headphones and listen to it.
what's yeah, see, it's good stuff,
Classic,
man.
classic.
That's very good
Oh, yeah.
music. Actually, today, I do you have any real favorite artists, like newer artists today?
No, I don't really keep up with artists. I just listen to all the music and remember all the lyrics, but don't know who's singing it or what
Gotcha.
the name of the song is.
Same.
But for some reason, I think we're in a decent age in music right now. It's not so, there's actually some good singer-songwriter type stuff, and
It's that country pop stuff.
yeah, and I can handle some of
Yeah,
that.
sure.
So, since you listen to a lot of Disney music, what's your favorite Disney movie?
Um, I'd have to say probably Mulan.
It's a good one. It's a good
Yeah.
one. How about you? You probably watch a lot of Disney
I,
movies at home,
I
don't you?
do. I don't know that I can name a favorite. Maybe like Aladdin, that Disney.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That
yeah.
one's a good one. And then I gave Jolynn a little pre-warning on this one. Uh, if you could wrestle any Disney character, who would you wrestle?
Oh, okay. Oh, I just forgot her name. Um, the girl off of Hercules. What is her name?
I could
Just
I
because
could
she's
Google it
like
quick.
so feisty, and she like stands up to Hercules and everything. She's pink or what is her name? Meg. Meg from
Ah,
Hercules.
I'm gonna see if I'm gonna see how good the internet is, um, and see if
I'm gonna go with Hercules. I don't know what Disney character I'd want to wrestle. So she's going with Meg. I'm gonna take down Hercules.
yeah, it's Megara is the official name, but they called her Meg.
Okay.
So yeah, that's good. I'm so impressed. I just wrote girl from Disney Hercules movie, and that's what it came up with. So I love AI.
Yeah.
Yep, it's great.
Um, since we're kind of on that subject, if you could have any superpower, what would it be?
Um, Teleportation because I like to be super busy and I travel all the time to be able to just like pop in when I'm needed would be great. Then I don't have to sit on a plane for a couple hours. Um, so yeah, teleportation.
You got a superpower you want to have, Dustin?
Well, let me ask you this. Is the Fountain of Youth, is that a superpower?
I would
Or
think it would
like
be, or
not
like
staying
regenerate. Like,
staying 44 the rest of my life? Could that be that's what I'd take.
is
If
that the
not,
age you
maybe
pick?
speed.
Would
What's
you would you
that?
pick would you pick 44 as the best age?
I mean, I'm happy. I'm
Okay.
happy. and my girls
I
are still a little bit young, so
yeah.
you know.
No, I get it. I think yeah, early 40s would have been all right. I'll tell you, mid 50s is not. Mid 50s starts to hurt. I'm going to tell you, it's true. Um, Someone in your wrestling life that's inspired you could be world team members, could be coaches. I don't know. I might be putting you on the spot.
Um, my coaches, Roland, especially. I'm not just saying it because you're on here. Um, but you and Taryn really made me love wrestling. So that's
Well,
why I
thank you
keep
for that.
wrestling and I keep sharing wrestling with
And you're
everybody.
coaching, so that's usually a good sign that you had good coaches if you want to
Yeah.
coach, right?
Yeah.
I tell you what, we couldn't be more proud. Taryn
I yeah, no,
and
she's
Kenny and Coach
Yeah.
Lewis.
All of them. All of them.
you had some good coaches in your lifetime.
I have had some great coaches in
Yeah,
wrestling.
even through yeah, even your college years, you've had great coaching.
Yeah.
That's awesome, and that really I like that. I love seeing kids want to coach because again, it means you had good coaches, you had people that helped you out in your life, and you're willing to help somebody else out in their life. That's what it's really all about when
Yeah.
it's all said and done. You know, Dustin and I don't make very much money, but we get a lot of other things. So, how about you, Dustin? Who inspired you to wrestle and coach?
That is a tough one. I mean, coaching would definitely have to be my parents. I mean, my dad's a longtime coach. Like I said, I coach with my dad. My mom was also a cheerleading coach for my sister. And they're both educators, so teaching and coaching was just kind of the route for me always. I mean, but every single coach that I had from kindergarten through, even coaches that I get to interact with last week at 16U National Duels, am I trying to learn and take things from? And so to pick out one would be just unfair. But as far as shaping me as a man, you'd have to talk about those formative years with my high school coach, McGivern, Coach Ray, who is still a coach and was Jolynn's coach as well, one of my
Nice.
assistants. And then obviously my coaches in college, Matt Deal and Eric Reed, were great wrestling, but also kind of at that time in my life where I was trying to figure out how to be a human being as well. And so I'm thankful for those great examples in my life too, Tony.
Yeah, no, that's yeah, coaches make a huge difference and yeah, it's really cool that you're gonna coach and I'm really proud of you. We never did talk about your favorite freestyle turn. We better throw that in there before I finish up.
Oh, I like a lace, but with my arm between the legs because I feel like I get much more or a lot more power that way. If I'm outside both knees, I feel like I don't get as much power where I can punch if I'm in between and
So are
just
you like
hold my
high on the thigh on that
Yeah.
one and
Yep.
then kind of coming back
Right in
through?
between the
Gotcha.
thighs and
Yep.
then wrap those legs up.
Yep. That's
Yep.
that's that's the my favorite lace to teach too. I love that one. I didn't wrestle a lot of freestyle back when I was in. I mean, it was not real big, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the rules changed so much. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. My
Changed every
first
week
time,
back then. Changed
yeah,
every
my
week.
my first time wrestling a freestyle match. This is funny. I got front headlocked and rolled through and tech falled, and I didn't even know I got taken down because it wouldn't have been a takedown. And I was like,
Right.
"What just happened?" I had no idea. But how about you, Dustin? What are you teaching the girls? I mean, you guys are actually you're teaching the guys, aren't are for freestyle. You're doing both, but I mean,
Sure. I mean,
what's
well, honestly, I mean, these kids at the age and the kids that I'm dealing with, through Iowa USA Wrestling, we talk maybe a little bit more about our girls. Iowa USA Wrestling, these guys are so good anymore. They
oh
have
I
so much
know.
great coaching. At that point in time when we're at 16 national duels or in Fargo, like especially in my position, less of a coach, more of an administrator, just sit back and enjoy watching great wrestling. As far as our own girls, again, basics. A lot of girls are maybe potentially scared or hesitant to wrestle freestyle, but as we all know in here, 90% of that match is wrestling on our feet, just
Yeah.
like you would in folk style. And then you get on top. I mean, leg laces are obviously very lucrative in the sport, and so a lot of different variations of leg laces are important and guts are great, but you got to be really, 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 really good to be turning people with guts.
Yeah.
So
And girls got them tricky hips anyway. So if you don't have it
yeah,
nice and
sure.
tight, they're stepping over.
Yeah,
Ooh,
right.
slowly, slowly.
So if you had the opportunity, let's say the NFHS called you up and they want you to be the head of the rule changing committee. You get to make one rule change, and we're going to say in both styles. So, folk style wrestling first, and then what rule change would you make in freestyle?
Oh, uh, well, first of all, for high school girls, I'd just make it freestyle instead of folk style. But um, one rule, uh, I don't know, because if I allow locked hands in for folk style, it just pretty much becomes freestyle. So I don't know what I would change. Maybe add a step out in folk style.
There you
Um,
go.
instead of um like fleeing the mat or that. And then for freestyle, um, um, I don't know. I like freestyle. I like how
I
freestyle works right now. Um, let's see, maybe um I don't know. I don't know
yeah,
what I would
and
change in
if you don't,
freestyle at the
yeah,
moment.
if you
So
don't got one, that's fine. That's fine. How about you, Dustin? What do you think about folk style? What rule change would be great?
I mean, it's so controversial, but I wouldn't hate a step out point,
Yep.
you know. I could see a 3-point reversal at this point in time.
Hmm.
Freestyle, again, I don't know that I necessarily my number one would be to like change rules right now, but maybe just with rules interpretation, like on going grounding out of bounds, like sometimes you can
yeah.
ground yourself and it's called,
Yep.
sometimes it's not. Um, I think that's a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
And
What do
again,
you think of?
interpretation. We had a couple kids, and I don't know how you change this rule, but we had a couple kids or, some I see injuries when a guy hits an arm spin, arm comes out and comes outside of the body again, just making sure everybody understands that position where instead of changing something,
Uh-huh.
more rules in place, more official education to keep people safe,
Gotcha.
I
What do you
think.
guys think about freestyles? No overtime, but the criteria. Do you like that or not?
I like criteria.
Do you like criteria?
I do because then it makes it pretty cut and I mean, obviously an overtime makes it cut and dry like at the end of it, but like a match is this amount of time and you have this amount of time to win. You don't get extra time to just be, oh, maybe I'm gonna stay 0-0 all 6 minutes, and then in 30 seconds I'm gonna escape and get 1 point and then not let them escape. So I'm gonna win by 1 point. That's a really can be a exciting match to watch, but also usually they're pretty boring. So I like the
Yeah.
criteria because it makes it a little more exciting to watch.
You like criteria, Dustin?
I think that that's freestyle. I mean, I think that's that international style, right?
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
obviously, and then the other thing when I think about when you ask that is I always go back to the 2004 match between Brandon Paulson and Dennis Hall that went like 19 minutes in Greco at the Olympic trials, and I'm like, man, is this what happens if we don't have it in some of these matches? You
Yeah.
know?
Do you remember the picking
Because
the
because obviously in folk style you can solve that by hey, you either ride them or you get out, but that's not even a technique in freestyle, so you cannot do that. They used to
yeah.
do the side crotch lift or not, whatever the
Yep.
high crotch,
Yep.
and then the
That
reverse
was
lift. They tried that. So for different positions, but to
yeah,
try to solve.
that was always interesting starting with a high C who
Yeah,
wins. I
yeah,
always thought that was odd. But
right.
I don't know.
I mean, I guess it's the
I
same thing as drawing top or bottom. If you feel like, most people, I think, maybe not in girls wrestling actually, Troy,
yeah.
but most people
No,
in the sport of wrestling would take bottom in that position because it seems to
Gir-
be the advantage.
Girls
But
tend to choose top. We're pinners.
yeah. That's right.
100%.
So there's
100%.
I'll throw that in before we finish up real quick because I know we're getting past your hour and you're going to start your practice fairly soon.
Yep.
Um, you're coaching second period. I know there's a lot of things. Are you opposed to letting somebody pick top?
Oh, we always pick top because we'll pin somebody in 10 seconds. But if we take bottom, my girls like to sit down there and I'm like, I can't handle it. Just go out and pin them because I'd rather just be done with the match. And you got your win. Okay? Let's move on. If it's like someone that's like needing to work on bottom and they're wrestling someone that's like maybe not like going to pin them, I'll be like, okay, you need to go work on your switch. You're taking bottom. Like, work on it and then finish the match. So I like taking top. Most of my high schoolers take top. That's how we won the state tournament by like 70 points because we just pinned everybody.
Nice, nice. What's your
I,
thoughts on
I,
that?
generally, that's something I'm transitioning in, because that was just such a no-no in boys.
Hmm.
And then honestly, we had a girl a couple years ago that was just her number one, and we kind of just didn't necessarily agree on that. But now I'm kind of changing. I guess there's a number of factors I look into, like, do we want to try to put them down in the third period when they're tired as opposed to the second period? Do I feel comfortable? Because there's a good chance if we don't choose top, she's choosing top. So it
Yeah,
also depends on how I feel about my wrestler getting out from the bottom. Um, and then obviously when I started to realize that maybe bottom wasn't the best position as we're going down and getting pinned, like maybe then we went to neutral for a while, should have been our position, because I
yeah.
felt we were good on our feet. So again, I know I just keep playing devil's advocate, but just a lot of factors
Oh
that
yeah,
that go into. But I'm working on being more open to it for some that, than what I would have been coming into girls wrestling.
yeah. No, I agree with you there because it used to be if you didn't pick bottom, I mean that's just what you did. You
Yeah.
got to get away. That was always the thing. But now it's well, you
Or
good
yeah.
possibility we're going to get pinned.
Or
You know?
neutral, but you very rarely pick top unless
Yeah,
you're down by
very.
10. Well, what are we gonna do? Pick
Yeah,
top.
yep. Yeah, if that's the only position I haven't got my butt kicked in so far, I might as well try
Yeah,
it.
right.
Right.
Yep.
Um, I'm going to go ahead and give, I'll give you both. I'm just going to start with Dustin here. Just the final thoughts, but I thought your final thoughts should maybe be about Jolynn Harris and what you think of her as as a coach that's now very proud to watch her become a great coach.
Yeah, so like I said, I mean, Jolynn came into our program young as an eighth grader, and I I don't know how much you talked, how much you share, but I used to have to kind of pull her to the side and say, Joe, stop running kids out of our room. I did you wrestle 2 years in middle school?
Just one.
Just a one, eighth grade, because we started probably that first year, right?
Hmm.
And I'm just like, she's running kids out of the room. And so she's always been special. We loved her. She's been somebody that you just didn't really have to worry about. She talked about how, if I was told this or I was told that, like she didn't never have to be told individually. She just did what she was supposed to be doing. I was trying to think if you're going to ask me, tell me one story that kind of capsulates Jolynn. Um, and I have this is on Snapchat. I have a video of it, so I get reminded of it sometimes. And Joe was hurt one time, and there was two boys that were hurt, right? And this is an all boys room. Joe's the only one in there, right? The only girl. And these two boys are kind of sitting, relaxing on the mat, and they're injured, and same injuries, probably shoulders. I don't know. And then I scanned over. I looked at the boys just kind of laying there, relaxing. Scanned over to Jolynn. She's over there doing push-ups, sit-ups, jumping jacks on the rope. The whole time we had practice, and like I said, she was just special. And so just to see her continue through her college career and now beyond at the senior level, um, or master's level maybe.
They
um,
don't have a master's division for women yet. Not
uh,
enough of
Yet,
us.
so
yet.
we
Yeah.
couldn't be more proud, right? And now going to be a head coach at a college. I can tell you I will definitely be encouraging my girls that she would be interested in to go there, take a visit. And that would just be something else to have our girls start going there, or any girls from Iowa, that we
Yeah.
knew or had relationships with through Fargo, or yourself and Disney Duels, or all the state tournaments AAU puts on. So as you know, Troy, we make relationships with a lot of different people, especially
Yep.
athletes, not necessarily ours. So how cool that would be to start pushing people that direction and see Jolynn be successful. I mean, you couldn't be more proud. So thank you for everything you've done for us, Joe, and we're rooting you on and we love you.
Thank you.
Uh,
Love you too.
yeah, I will second that as far as I think it'd be really cool to send our girls to an Iowa girl that we know is going to do them right. So, and Jolene, you're going to finish us off. Final thoughts for the day, maybe something about going into your new position or reflecting on your career.
Um, I'm just really thankful that Taryn asked if my brother wanted to wrestle, and and I came and started practice because, like I said, I knew nothing about wrestling when I got there, and wrestling's done so much for me, and it's helped me grow as a person, become more confident, strong-willed, and help me help all these girls as well, and just be able to be a great role model for them. So I'm super excited to be going to coach college and help those college girls out, and hopefully I can be a great role model for them as well and help them want to coach and go do great things as well.
All right. Well, thank you very much, both of you, for coming on today. I'm going to hit that button, but thank you very much.
Yeah, thank